leaks or leaky hoses, no loose or missing bolts. Here's a dipstick where we check for proper indicator level, and that's where you add fluid if needed. Compressor, right here. No air leak, cracked, broken, leaky hoses. And we're gonna say on this one that it's belt driven, because that's belt driven. So the belt not to exceed 3/4 inch in play, and it's not damaged or missing. The air governor is part of the compressor, so you gotta say it's not leaking, it's not loose or broken. This here is the engine oil dipstick. You check for that, you take the dipstick out, wipe it clean, dip, and check again. Make sure it's a proper indicator level. If it needs oil, you add it here. This here is the steering shaft, which is not cracked, broken, no broken welds. The U-joints are greased properly, and the boot's complete so that there's no fumes leaking in. This here is the steering box, which is not leaking, no loose or missing bolts or leaky hoses. Then you have the steering linkage here. All castle nuts are tight, cotter pins are in, nothing's cracked, broke, or missing on that. Okay. From there, we'll go to the front axle. Start with the tire. 4/32 of an inch is minimum depth for the front. The tire pressure should be checked with the heavy duty tire pressure gauge, and it should be up to manufacturer's recommended PSI. The tire is not a recap tire. It's wearing out evenly. No chunks missing, no punctures or cracks, and there are no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on the sidewalls. The rim, there's no illegal welds. It's not bent or cracked. The valve stem's not loose, rubbing on the rim or leaking air. All lug nuts are there, and there should be no rust. Rust would indicate looseness. Hub seal, no leaks, loose bolts, and this one takes grease, not oil. And we know that because there's no inspection window here. Okay, so there's no level to check. Grease pack bearings. Brakes, drum. No heat damage, cracked or broken, no grease or oil inside. And the brake pads should be at least 1/4 of an inch in thickness. No cracks, no discoloration from heat, no grease or oil. Brake hoses here. All fittings are tight. No air leak. The chamber right here. No loose or missing bolts, crack, broke, leaking air. And the slack adjuster here. Not to exceed 1 inch free play on the slack adjuster's push rod. It's also greased properly and cotter pins are in. To check that inch free play, you pull on the slack adjuster and check that push rod. From there, we go to the leaf springs, and those are not shifted, broke, cracked, or missing. The U-bolts here are tight, and these are the clamps are also tight in place. There's a front and a rear spring mount, which has no loose bolts, cracks, or breaks. Greased properly in that case. Shocks, bushings are in. No loose or missing bolts. It's not bent, cracked, or leaking any fluids. If you see those leaking, they should be replaced. Okay. Turn signal light here. The amber in color, working. No loose or missing screw. The side view mirrors are adjusted. The driver needs. Back. No loose or missing bolts. The door opens, closes properly. The weather stripping inside is complete, no damage, and the door hinges are not cracked, broken, or missing any bolts. Again on the steps, no grease or oil, nothing that can create a hazard. No loose or missing bolts. Battery box, there's no leaks, no loose connections or cables, and they should have proper fluid levels. Proper indicated fluid levels.
And then that corrosion.
And no corrosion. The battery box itself is mounted secure. You don't have to say to what, just mount it. Drive shaft down here. Again, no free play in the U-joints, greased properly, not cracked or broken, no broken welds. Tractor frame, checking for any illegal welds, loose bolts, being bent or broken. And then the other truck is gonna have the catwalk here. So we're gonna say the catwalk securely mounted to the frame. Now this guy here is the electrical connection. We make sure it's latched on the tractor side and on the trailer side here. So that's there and working. There's no exposed wires. It's not rubbing anywhere. No dry rot. And the other two are air hoses. Again, we check the fittings, make sure they're tight and not leaking air. No cracks. The glad hands are sealed and tight. No air leaks. Red is emergency. Blue is service. From there we go to the coupling or the fifth wheel. Apron. No broken welds or cracks. Fifth wheel plate is greased properly, and there should be no gap in there between the apron and the fifth wheel plate. The release arm is locked in place. This safety latch, you won't have to mention it on the other truck because it doesn't have one, but if you ever come across a truck with this, it should be locked behind it like that. Platform, starting here at the angle iron, ending at the angle iron. There's no loose or missing mounting bolts, no broken welds here or any cracks. The side pins of the fifth wheel, make sure they're all the way in, they're greased properly, and you can see that the cotter pins are from the inside of the pin. Back side of the fifth wheel is the kingpin and lockjaw. Make sure those are not cracked or broken, they're greased properly. The kingpin itself is not bent or worn, and the lockjaws, make sure that they're completely around the kingpin, completely locked around the kingpin. From there we go to the second axle. Do 30 seconds of an inch. Or the fronts. 4 30 seconds. Okay. So yeah, 30 seconds minimum. Tire pressure is checked with the heavy duty tire pressure gauge, and it should be up to manufacturer's recommended pressure or PSI. On a dual set of tires, you gotta make sure they're the same size and type of tire, either bias or radials. They're not rubbing together, and there's no foreign objects in between. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts on the sidewalls. Rim, no illegal welding, bent or broken. The valve stems are not leaking air, they're not loose or making contact with the rim. All lug nuts are there. Make sure there's no rust. Rust indicates looseness. And the axle seal has no leaks, no oil leaks that is, no loose or missing bolts, and it's not cracked or broken. Now the brake system, we can see the brake chamber there, and then the brake hose is connected to it. So we're gonna say the brake hoses are not loose, or all fittings are tight, no air leak, no damage. The brake chamber, no loose or missing bolts, not leaking any air, cracked or broken. The slack adjusters are on the front of that, no more than 2 inches now. And to check that, you will have to chock the wheels, release the brakes inside, get back down here, pull on the slack adjuster, and check the travel on the push rod, not to exceed 2 inches. Also on the slack adjuster is greased properly and all cotter pins are in. Brake drums and brake pads. Start with the brake drums. There's no heat damage, no oil or grease inside, not cracked or broken. brake pads should be at least 1/4 of an inch in thickness. Again, not cracked, broken, no heat damage or any oil inside. The leaf springs, one more time, they're not shifted, broken, cracked. All U-bolts and clamps are tight. There's a front and a rear spring mount, which are not cracked or broken. All bolts are tight in place and greased. And then the torque arm right there. Torque arm. No loose bolts, cracked or broken. Greased properly. From there we'll go to the back of the tractor, checking the lights so we know they work, red in color. And the splash guards, no higher than 8 inches from the ground. No loose or missing bolts, no damage. The front of the trailer here has no broken welds or cracks. Light and reflective to the front should be amber in color. That indicates the front of the trailer or the vehicle. The side here is the frame on this type of trailer. No broken welds, it's not bent or cracked. Reflective tape is unsecured. We have the cargo hooks welded and working, and these are the strap tie downs, welded and working properly. The bed, there's no debris or anything that can fly off when I'm driving. We keep checking. Now under here is the cross numbers. Make sure the screws are tight there. Not bent, broken, or any damage to that. This is the landing gear. The landing gear, you make sure that the landing pads are securely mounted, no loose bolts. The pins are all the way in, and no debris. No broken welds on the landing gear itself, no loose or missing bolts, bent, cracked, broken. And the crank handle, make sure it's bolted tight and it's stowed away properly. Also make sure that it works, it lowers and raises the landing gear. And always make sure that the landing gear is fully raised before you drive anything or anywhere. We keep going. Trailer frame and all that stuff. Accessory box. Just say it's mounted secure. Third axle. Third axle is going to be pretty much the same as the second axle. The only difference is that the spring mounts are welded. You can see it. Okay, all the other ones were bolted on. The torque arm looks different here. That's a tubular torque arm. Not cracked, bent, broken, no loose bolts. And then the hub seal here. This is one that takes oil, and you can tell that because there's a window here, and you could service and inspect it from outside by removing this center cap. Okay? Everything else applies. Accessory box, tight secured. In the rear, no loose, no missing bolts, not dragging, no more than 8 inches from the ground. Lights reflect, should be red in color, except for the license plate light, which is a clear light. Reflective tape, on secured, pinto hook, working properly, bolts are tight. And then the electrical connections complete with the latch. The glad hands are not leaking air. And like I was telling you guys yesterday, the valves right here, these are more visible. Should be in the closed position if you're not connected to another trailer. Otherwise, you're gonna lose all the pressure from it. Now that's just a safety tip. You guys don't have to mention that to the examiner. Okay, once we get to the other side, we're gonna say that we would do the same as we did on the driver's side. And that's that, boss man.
That newer tire here.